So we are live, and I'll start the webinar now. Assalamu alaikum and good evening to everyone who is joining us live on Facebook and YouTube pages of CPSG. I hope you're all doing well mentally, physically, and spiritually. And on the behalf of Canadian Pakistani Support Group Association, I'm Zainab Khan, Project Manager, and I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this very interesting webinar by CPSG Maskan. And this webinar specifically is organized by Maskan Edmonton Chapter. And before we start our program, I would like to start with the land acknowledgement. So we honor and acknowledge Treaty 7 lands, which are the traditional territory of Siksika, Kainai, Tsuut'ina, Piikani, the Nakoda, and an important trading center for Métis of Region 3 of the Métis Nation of Alberta. We recognize that we are treaty people and have a responsibility to understand our history, the spirit, and intent of Treaty 7. So today, our panel discussion is focused on how to build safe and healthy communities. And the goal of this webinar is to understand the foundations of healthy and safe communities that are based on healthy families. It takes a lot of effort to build healthy families, and there are stressful times when families struggle. So today we have experts and professionals who are working in wonderful organizations in different fields, and they play an important role in building healthy and safe communities and families. So before I start with the conversation, and I'm really looking forward to it, I would like to share a brief introduction of each panel member who has joined us today. So I have Joe Campbell, leading change community developer at Alberta Council of Women's Shelter. I will be joined by Dr. Zahid Latif, who is the advisory board member for CPSG Maskan Edmonton Chapter, and he is consultant psychiatrist at Alberta Hospital Edmonton, Faculty of Psychiatry, University of Alberta. I'm joined by Chan Gul. She's also advisory board member for Maskan Edmonton Chapter and a behavioral specialist at Alberta Hospital Edmonton and a very active community member. Then I'm really honored to be joined by Anila Azim, who is the Executive Director, founder of CPSC and Muskin Transitional Shelter Home. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today in this family discussion, which is really interesting around safe and healthy families. So I'll start with the first question and the discussion point, and the viewers and listeners who are listening to our live conversation, they can share their comments, questions, and feedback on the Facebook page and also on the YouTube channel. So you can ask questions from our panel members, and we have some discussion items around how to build safe and healthy communities. So, Joe, you are affiliated with Alberta Council of Women's Shelter, and ACW is doing some amazing and wonderful work. So, I would like you to start off your discussion around how ACWS is playing a role in building safe and healthy communities in Alberta.
Yeah, thank you so much. I said this earlier. I'm so grateful to be here and to be a part of this conversation and to represent the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters here today. So the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters, or ACWS, has been around for over 40 years, and we actually don't operate an actual direct shelter, but we have 40 member shelter organizations who share in our vision of a world free of violence and abuse. And we do have a dual-pronged mission, and really the first is to support and advocate on behalf of our member shelters. But secondly is we want to create culture change to end violence and prevention work. And that's what we do with Leading Change in the program that I'm a part of. And that is really about, challenging beliefs and behaviors that exist in our communities, in our world, that allow for violence against women and girls to happen. And really within that work, in talking about building healthy communities, healthy families, what we talk about in Leading Change is really we work from a strengths-based perspective. So we don't look at what's wrong with people. We look at what people are really doing good, and what's really working. This is the same for, what are we doing well in our personal lives as people? What are we doing well as communities? And how can both of those support each other? We talk a lot about leading from where you stand and setting an appropriate example, for the people around you, the ones that we really care about. And so, that's a little bit about who we are, and really, I think that the conversations that we can have, and understanding what our strengths are, what we can bring to this conversation, because so often it's not talked about, and when we can bring it into the light, and address that, we I have seen so many leaders step up and really take on this issue in a really great way.
Thank you very much, Joe. And I think I really agree with the point where you mentioned that we really need to come up with these conversations more often. When we bring these conversations to the table, that is when people would start realizing how important these topics are. And Chan, you have been working in the mental health domain as well, but you're well connected with the community. You talk with people, you meet people on daily basis. You're affiliated with so many organizations in Edmonton, also at the global level. So how do you see the correlation between healthy communities and healthy families? And then how do you visualize a healthy family environment? Because healthy communities at a household unit are based on healthy families. So this is how we see it, but I would like your perspective on it. Um, John, I would really acknowledge if you
Yeah,
can unmute yourself.
I
I
hope
think, yes,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. So for me, the healthy community will start from a healthy person. So if
Yes.
we, a single person can think positively, a single person can act positively, then it will create the healthy communities. In healthy family relationship, people mostly trust and rely on each other to support, love, affection, and warmth. Family often share common goals and work together to reach those goals. For example, children and young people may help each other, like doing dishes. Like, I ask my son right now to help me. Doing dishes or prepare a dinner is a small act, but it starts from a family, start from a single a person, and that way we can work together as a community, that okay, each and everyone can put a small portion of their work, a small portion from anywhere, to build a healthy community. like and also it's the people's social, emotional, cognitive, and academic development is strengthened when families work together, when people work together, when friends work together, when neighbors work together. So, for example, I will give you the example. Like, for example, if my son miss a bus, so I can call my neighbor, can you please drop him today's his diploma exam? So that way, academically or socially, or we are supporting each other, and we can create a healthy community, a healthy society. And when a child sees a positive relationship developing between families or between a community, he will learn, she will learn, and then he or she will support. And that way we can just like the chain of people or the chain of positivity, we can create those kind of environment. And when a people or some simple person, for example, when I came to Canada first day, somebody opened the door for me of my bank. It was the first day. So that was the positive act, and I learned how to, like, in this culture. So, and at the same way, a person recognized that the important people in his or her life are working together and trust each other. And that way a child, like, he or she will do the same, or a person will do the same. Like, I'm not a child, but anybody can do the same. So this collaboration also provide a strong foundation for communities about like learning as well as delivery.
Thank you very much, John, for talking about the multiple aspects of building healthy families and then connecting it to healthy communities. I request Anila to share her thoughts on the next item, discussion item. And those who have joined us live, first of all, thank you so much for joining us live. And if you have any questions from our panel members, I have Anila Azim, who is the founder and president of Canadian Pakistan Support Group, Maskan. I have Joe Campbell from Alberta Council of Women's Shelter. I have Chan Gul, who is a behavioral specialist. I'm joined by Dr. Zahid Latif, who is also a mental health specialist. So if you have any questions around building safe and healthy communities, I would really like you to share your comments and feedbacks and questions, and I'll direct them to the panel members. So, Anila, my question to you is: you represent immigrant community and you have an extensive experience working with immigrant communities. Working with immigrants, refugees, and newcomers, we in Canada celebrate our diversity, the diverse colors from all the different cultures that we bring into this land, and then we together celebrate this diversity. We live and enrich these lands. So my question is that there are times when the immigrant family undergo multiple challenges in their settlement stage. There are different stages, and during that time, they can encounter family stress, and that family stress can lead on to family conflicts, and then family conflicts lead on to challenges in keeping that healthy environment. Can you elaborate on your experience working with immigrant communities who face these situations during the settlement phase?
Thank you, Zainab. Yeah, I'm an immigrant and I chose Canada to be the home for myself and for my children. And in my experience, moving to a new country, it's a huge step. And a family undergoes a lot of changes during the settlement phase. The settlement could present a lot of challenges for immigrant families, and many factors can lead to a family stress, including employment challenges, family income, parenting children in a new environment, language barriers, and cultural shock. Majority of the time, immigrant families undergoing the settlement phase face situation of family conflicts and stress. So that's a very important point where things they start getting worse. Immigrant women they face additional challenges due to very limited literacy and unfamiliarity with the system, and they live in a very stressful situation for years without seeking help. This ultimately leads to family violence incidents, and in my experience, immigrant women they face additional barriers in seeking help due to cultural and systemic barriers.
Thank you, Anila. I think you highlighted a very important aspect of healthy communities. And then there are certain situations where family undergoes through stress, and there are incidents of family violence, and how those incidents then undergoes through different stages. And for immigrant women, what kind of challenges, additional challenges the system presents or the support ecosystem presents. I'll request Dr. Zahid Latif, who is our panel member and joined us as well, to talk about the family violence and how it affects children, how that unhealthy family environment affects on children growing up in that environment mentally, behaviorally, and how it links to then intergenerational violence. So, Dr. Zahid, over to you if you can hear me.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much having me in this very important panel discussion. And it's a very good question, which is very important for all the communities. I will just apologize because I'm sitting in my car. If there is any problem with my voice or some, please let me know. I have stopped my car, but I can open the window if it will make the changes in my voice. Anyway, okay. In my opinion, parents are the first teachers of children, and home is the environment where children learn. Children learn from role models, as a father is the role model, mother is the role model, and they imitate their behavior. And whatever they learn from home, they replicate it in the community. That's why if we want to have healthy communities, the most important thing is that community consists of different family units. And to have a good family community, we need to have good family units. And in all the units, it's the important thing is to identify what are the reasons that is causing them the stress, and to appropriately deal with it. That, like for example, I just give you example that kind of usually the parents set the tone of the conversation at home. If there is a financial stress, that will cause um, kind of a parents to be short tempered. um, they may be kind of a shouting with each other or something, and children will learn this behavior, that in case of frustration or in case of anger, this is the way to do it, and that behavior will be repeated first in the school and then as a whole in the community. That's why, in my opinion, that it is very, very important that we should have a very good home environment for our children, that for them to nurture and to be good citizens.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zahid, for highlighting the important parts with how to build the healthy families for our children, for our future generation, for our future leaders, in fact. So, Joe, my question to you would be that ACWS works with Women's Shelter and around 40 plus member organizations under the umbrella of ACWS, and each one of them are working towards the support and prevention and awareness. So, how do you think that these member organizations, especially Women's Shelter, play a role in building healthy families? How these awareness discussions help the communities to understand their role in the community, their role in a family to build that safe and healthy environment? And I would really appreciate if you also talk about the Leading Change program and how Leading Change actually helps in building the safe and healthy communities.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and I think, just to that last point, people will act and do what they see. They don't know something or understand something if they haven't seen it before or know how to act. And I think when it comes to women's shelters' roles in, um, I think people understand that this is a serious issue that needs to be talked about. Um, However, when it comes to that practice and taking that individual learning, how we're interacting at home out into the community, there is a bit of a disconnect uh, in that, in having that conversation. We do know that starts at home, but I think what I've seen in the work of shelters across this province, and the work that we do within in leading change, is we get to think about really kind of different or creative ways to start this conversation in our community. Is this a conversation that needs to take place, while somebody is watching a soccer match or at a McDonald's, or, having a phone call with friends? Um, you know and I think that what I've seen happen within kind of women's shelters and within leading change is we really want to build a community of leaders that understand this issue and know those intricacies, to um, of how people learn to replicate behaviors that they see at home, take that into the community. And a lot of times people don't understand the impact that they are having on folks in their own homes. And we need to just bring those conversations into the light. And so within leading change, it's a call to action to act differently, but to start the conversation is what's most important. We need to understand where we fit within in the solution to this issue, and what we can bring to build a more healthy, strong community.
Thank you, Joe. And you talked about the women's shelter, and I would request Chan to further add to it because Chan, you have worked extensively in the community, different organizations, and culturally and linguistically diverse communities. And when we deal with the culturally and linguistically diverse communities, you must have come across situation where there is a need for culturally specific programming. Let's say if we are talking about women's shelter, the need for women's shelter that offer culturally specific support. So, what do you think that how important it is to offer those tailored services and support when we are talking about support to women's in the immigrant community?
So, like, uh, we need each and everyone need a support. For example, if there is a dispute or there is an unhealthy relationship between the families or between a people, like we need support on different aspect. If it's a legal, it's a social, economic. So, and there are different organizations who are focusing on that, like shelter, they are providing shelter and other services. Some other organization, non-profits, are providing settlement, employment, self-growth. So all those services they are providing, they are putting their own role. But as a person, as a community member, we have some responsibilities. For example, I will just share that if somebody will share that, oh, I am part of the shelter, you know, so mostly uh, in some of the communities, not each and every community, people are just backup, you know. Oh, this woman is in shelter, so maybe she's in problem, maybe she's in legality, something like that. So people start avoiding. So that for me as a person, we can communicate a healthy communication between people, between family. And when we do that healthy communication, then learning is collaborative. When we do the accomplishment, well, accomplishment should be acknowledged. If that, for example, if that woman accomplished something, so we should acknowledge that person, whatever, if it's a woman, is there is no gender, okay, a person. So we need to uh, like as well as we need to focus on the problems and start to work together, that maybe, like, for example, and when problems are recognized, the one thing we don't know, mostly we don't recognize the problem. So, and solutions are provided by different people from different collaboration, because we are in Canada. That thing like is very different. I will answer this question in some where in the underdeveloped countries, but now we are in Canada, so we have support systems. So we need the knowledge. So from where you will get that thing and communicate the positive and the negative both, and find solution
Right.
together as a family, as a person, as a community. And family or community will have better sense of their behaviors and accomplishment if behaviors are reported, not only that are, you know, negative or challenging. You know, the
Right.
positive behavior also, like two-way communication, and we need a two-way communication is very important. It's not like that somebody can come and ask me, oh, I need your support, and I can just share my stuff. I should listen. So it's a two-way communication to strengthen the bond between the family and between the community and between the people. So listen and share with them our experiences, solution, as well as discussion. I
Right.
think we can discuss. Yeah.
Thank you, Chand, for talking about communication. And talking about communication, I think, and talking about leading change, I think both the points link back to Anila, because you started the communication on a very sensitive topic with the community here in Calgary. And then you led that change that was not possible initially because it was a very sensitive topic. So I would like you to talk about that experience of advocating for culturally specific programming for women, and especially the support for women who are fleeing from such violent situation, or they need help with resolving those family conflicts. It's not every time about fleeing from that situation, but at times they are in that situation and they need support. You reached out to the community. You talked about establishing Maskan as a hub, as a home for women who are fleeing from that situation, stressful situation, and then you help those women to build their families safe and in healthy environment. You trained them, you guided them, 500 plus women under the umbrella of Muslim. That is an achievement. So I would like you to talk about that experience, because for past 3 years, you have been consistent about leading that change, making sure that communication stays and is regularly maintained with the community.
Um, I started Maskan in 2019 with the main goal to reduce barriers to seeking and getting help for domestic violence or family conflict situations. Since then, as you said, that 500 plus women and children from culturally diverse communities have been supported by providing culturally relevant support. This support is in the form of multilingual support, food, the multilingual support in counseling, food, and multicultural mental health support. I have seen women starting their healing journey in Muscan because it's a home like environment and we provide culturally relevant support. So, as Chand and Dr. Zahid has already explained that how we, a person as an individual or as a community, how we can make healthy families, but as a non-profit organization, as a shelter, what we can do, what we are doing right now is like the main two components that we are focusing on is awareness in the community. So we are conducting a lot of multiple sessions in healthy families. Every year we do some kind of events to promote that. And the second very important thing is training and support for victims to prevent intergenerational violence. So if we will not break that vicious circle, it will continue, working like that. So that's what we are doing in Calgary, and that's what we are planning to do in Edmonton.
Thank you, Anila, and I really hope that we can organize such awareness sessions more frequently in the Edmonton community, especially for our immigrant community. Dr. Zahid, I would request you to share your thoughts on the need for such awareness discussions in our community. Do you think that such discussions are normal? We often talk about healthy families. We realize that these discussions are important. And then it would link back to the need for Muskin in the Edmonton community, talking about these issues and taking these issues towards a solution oriented approach could be possible through these communications and conversations. So, a bit of your thoughts on this aspect.
Sure. Thank you very much. Before I answer your question, I would just highlight Anila's point regarding having a culturally sensitive services and culturally sensitive shelters for women. I just want to tell that recently in Canadian Medical Journal, there is a study published that if patient, especially from the ethnic minorities, if they are admitted in the hospital and they get their own language speaking staff or the doctors, especially this study is for the doctors, and their survival rate increases there. And I would definitely, it is one of the on my list to read that the whole topic, and I can send it to you, which would be very, very good. After a long time they have kind of done this type of research, which is showing that that every culture has a different type of things. Like for example, I just want to give you information that about um, years ago there was a research was done in China, and that shows that there was nobody suffering from depression. And but that's not true. Important thing was that kind of because the expression of depression in that area was different. It was coming up in more kind of a somatic complaints, or rather than telling that I'm depressed, thinking that or saying that I'm depressed was culturally considered person a weak person. And that is exactly that when you know this culture, then you are able to help the person to heal quickly, and it will help them to recovery. And further to now your question, in my opinion, that especially the ethnic minorities, and then from the ethnic minorities, our ladies are those kind of who needs the most of our support from the community, because they suffer in silence. They keep at home because they are not aware of the society. They do not know what to do. They do not know where to contact, who to contact, and that's why they continue to suffer in silence at home. That's why, in my opinion, that it is very very important that in all big cities we should have a culturally sensitive shelter which would help those women which has their language barriers, they have their religious needs, they have different type of clothings. When they go with those type of clothings in normal, they may think that other people would make fun of them, and which will further traumatize them. That's why, in my opinion, that it is very very important that we should start discussion of having these type of services, all big cities, and we should have one definitely in Edmonton as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zahid, for strongly advocating on the need for culturally specific programming and the programs like Maskan. And it takes me back to the campaign. I think, Joe, you're very well aware to that campaign of more than a shelter. So, shelter is not just a roof over your head that we provide. It's more than that. It's about advocacy, it's about support, it's about awareness, it's about giving that support for a better life, for sustainable communities, for healthy communities. And at Muskan, we have culturally specific programming, not just in terms of on site staff that have multicultural competencies, but we also have online programs that are offering the mental health support in different languages, in fact, 9 languages. And you can reach us out and you can get access to that mental health support because the healing journey starts from the moment they know that they are understood, they are connected, they are bonded with those who support them, let it be the support workers or mental health counselors. So, Joe, moving on to the discussion and taking this discussion further on the culturally specific programming, you have worked with the different member organizations, especially Women's Shelter. How important do you think is the need for culturally specific programming, especially talking about the women with limited literacy, with language barriers, with the different food requirements, and also different religious and cultural needs, and the need for Muslim like programs in Edmonton? So, a bit of your thoughts on that. Um, I think, Joe, we cannot hear you.
Believe that both in terms of that frontline direct service work and in who is supporting women, but then who is also supporting communities in education and prevention. These need to be culturally specific conversations. Communities know how to support communities best, know how to lead. People know how to lead from where they stand within their own, you know, communities. Anila, that point about 500 women have received this support, we say this so often in this work, and it is so true that the work that shelters do saves lives. And Maskan has saved lives in Calgary, and Maskan can save lives in Edmonton. And that happens through those direct shelter services, but also through those conversations that we're able to start in those in our communities, so that we can stop violence before it happens. We always say it's interesting in this work that in doing violence prevention, we want to work so that we don't have a job anymore, and I think everyone would be on board with that in this call. And that's and really, when it comes to that, it's about supporting those conversations, supporting leaders in their communities to have these conversations in the best way.
Thank you, Joe. I think we are moving towards the end of this webinar, and those who have joined us or they want to leave some questions later on, we can also communicate those questions from the comment section to our panel members, and we can leave the answers also later on the links available. Anila, any final thoughts that you would like to share with the community watching, especially Edmonton Chapter and Muscat?
I just wanted to add that we are planning to open a shelter, a transitional home in Edmonton, and we need the support for the community so that we can start this project. We need community support from the political leaders, the government, and everyone around this area. So please check our website and see what we are doing here in Calgary. As we have helped so many women and children, we also provide outreach programs. And we are not only planning to open a shelter in Maskan, but we will also start an outreach program that will help many new immigrants and refugees.
Thank you, Anila. And those who have listened just now, I'll just again mention I have shared the website link and phone number of Muskan in the banner that is showing at the bottom of the screen. So if you need more information about Muskan and the support we offer and what kind of services and programs we offer, you can reach us at 403-971-2774, or we have a toll-free crisis line 800-471-3879. Then moving on to our other panel members for their final thoughts and final messages. Dr. Zahid Uddin.
Yes, I think Muskan is doing a very good job, and I really appreciate people behind it, especially Anila, um, thinking about this service, thinking about that. This is something which was missing in the community, and taking the initiative and starting the services from the scratch and building it up, and has passion to start the same type of services in other cities. I really appreciate all women working in Calgary, and I hope that we will have same type of um, um, uh, kind of setup here in Edmonton as well, working and helping our community. All the
Thank
best to
you.
the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zahid, for your kind words and best wishes. And we really look forward to making it possible in Edmonton, inshallah. Chand, you were also part of the fundraiser that we did online in 2021 during pandemic. And at that time, you shared some words that, inshallah, Muscat Calgary chapter would become a reality in terms of securing our shelter building. We did it recently, and that was a milestone. And you've been part of Muscan as well, and you're active an ambassador of Muscan in Edmonton. So, your final thoughts?
The one thing, it was a dream maybe for Anila, but now it's a reality for all of us. And for me, like, yeah, uh, just a simple message for everyone that we need to work together to create this respectful and reciprocal relationship where each and everybody can be heard, listened, and supported. So that is my final thought. And thank you so much for all of you who are doing whatever, if they are in a front line or if they are even a single uh, if somebody today put a single button on our web page or just on our poster, this is a big help for Muscan. And I am grateful to be a part of that amazing team. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Joe, for becoming part of this panel discussion. But also, we really appreciate the support of ACWS. Muskan has been a member of ACWS for now 2 3 years, and working under the umbrella of ACWS, we have learned a lot adhering to the provincial standards of working with other women, and also adhering to the standards and practices of women's shelter. So, and I know that you have a very pure heart as a facilitator. You have guided us, you have trained us. But any final thoughts for before we wrap up the webinar?
Uh, Thank you so much again for having this conversation. And I just really want to highlight and say that change is possible. This issue is sometimes so hard to deal with. And you think about 2018 when there's no Maskan, and then what happens the next year is that, and that's change, and that's real. And then what's happened over that period of time in terms of people who support, lives who have been impacted. Changes happened within myself and happened within my community, and it's going to keep happening. So peace and love, and thank you again for having me here today.
Thank you. Once again, thank you all the panel members and all the viewers who joined us and those who joined us during the stream. If they have any follow-up thoughts, they can share us later on as well. Before I end this webinar, I would like to mention that CPSG Maskan team would be coming to Muslim Heritage Day Festival happening in Edmonton. We will have our booth over there, and we look forward to sharing all the amazing information about the Maskan program at the festival, inshallah. Secondly, we will be bringing on more conversations, physical as well as the online webinars and panel discussions around different topics for our Edmonton community, and really normalizing these conversations around mental health, around building healthy families. What are the important components of building healthy families? The secrets to a happy life. And there's so much to learn from the experiences that we had in past 3 to 4 years. So we have so much to share, inshallah. So thank you very much once again, and looking forward to have these conversations more frequently, more often. Till that time, take care, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.